Hey guys, it's John, the SMG, and I've had quite a few questions on how I hone a full wedge. So I'm gonna do a quick video to show you. This is a Wade & Butcher full wedge. And before we start, I wanna let you know that one of the main things you need to do is you need to verify with tape how many layers of tape you're going to need on your spine to be able to get the whole bevel set. And the reason for that is a wedge is got a lot more steel and it's more material, and you need to verify. So for example, this particular razor, I have 2 layers of electrical tape on, and that's where I'm at. Before, I was able to look through my loop and figure out that I needed 2 layers of tape to be able to get a full bevel set. So I just wanted to get that in there. So with this particular razor, I start with a Naniwa 600. And what I'll do is I'll wet it down, and because there's so much material on a wedge compared to a hollow or a full hollow or a half hollow, you need to verify by putting the proper amount of pressure down. So what I do is I use a straight down. I'll verify that the razor is flat, which it is, okay, on both sides. So I'll put pressure on both sides to make sure it's flat. If it isn't flat, you're going to need to use a rolling X stroke where you're bringing the razor up and down as you're going across. But for this purpose, I don't need a rolling X stroke. I just need a basic X stroke. So an X stroke is going to be from the heel to the toe, and it's going to be pulling the whole razor down. As I'm pulling it down towards me, I am pulling it off the stone to make sure that I get the whole razor honed, like so. That's an X stroke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 30 X strokes in each direction, like so. 3, 4, 5. That's 30 on one side. I'll move to the opposite side. That's 30. And the reason I start with a 600 grit stone instead of a 1000 is I want to be sure that I am getting that bevel set. Now I'm going to go from where I was just doing 30 to 20. I'm crossing over. I use both sides of the stone. The reason for that is so that it wears evenly. And then I'm going to just put a little bit more fresh water on. I do this in my sink. And now I'm going to do 10. Remember that these strokes are really, they're not written in stone. You might need to do 60, you might need to do 30, you might need to do 10. And then as far as the X strokes, I'll just finish up my razor by doing around 7 to 10 X strokes, like so. And because this is a 600 grit stone and I want to make sure that I get this bevel set correctly, I will put some extra pressure on it where I might not use that same amount of pressure if I was honing, say, a 5/8 or 6/8 full hollow. I would use a lot less pressure. And again, this is my way of doing it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rinse the blade off. I'm going to do my thumbnail test. I just take my razor and I run it across my thumbnail and make sure that it's pulling a resistance in the opposite direction, which it is, to verify that the bevel is set correctly all the way from the heel to the toe. And what you want to do is, once you verified that you've got the bevel set, that is the most important thing. Without the bevel set correctly, you're just wasting your time moving on to other stones. So make sure that you go ahead and verify that the bevel is set. If you do a thumbnail test and there's a section on your razor that does not move with pressure, but it's smooth on moving on your nail, you need to stop and go back to the stones. Most cases, if that happens, it's because you need to do a rolling X stroke. And your razor might have a bit of a smile to it and it's not sitting completely flat on the stone. So you need to verify that as you're going along. So now, because I used my thumbnail and I found that I have a good bevel, I'm just going to do about 7 to 10 X strokes, just like so, just to verify that I gave back that pristine bevel that I just took off a little bit of. I might have rolled the edge even by using my thumbnail. So you want to just verify each time you do a thumbnail test that you do 7 to 10 strokes on your hone, just to verify that you got that edge back the way it was originally. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to inspect my tape, and if my tape looks good, I am not going to replace the tape every time. I know when I do a razor that has one layer of tape, I might need to replace that tape every single time I switch to a different hone, but for this case, I won't need to. And I'm going to put a 1000 Aniwa stone in its place. I'm gonna make sure it's wet, and this is why I like to start off with synthetic stones, because they don't need to be submerged in water for any prolonged period of time. You just need to make sure that the surface is wet. And then I'm gonna do X strokes, just like so. Now what I'm feeling for is, I've already felt that I got the bevel set. So I don't need to reset any more bevel. I don't need to put a lot more pressure on it. Once I know that the bevel is set, I am gonna just move to feeling the suction that comes from the razor sucking down to the stone as I'm doing X strokes across it. Now I'm still gonna take off some material because it's a 1000 grit stone. So what I'm doing is I'm really refining the bevel from the 600 to the 1000. At least I feel that's what I would call it, refining the bevel. And I don't need to do hundreds and hundreds of strokes. What I need to do is I need to feel the razor in my hand. I need to feel how it's running on the hone. And when I feel that I've got that suction-y kind of feeling where it's pulling in the opposite direction while I'm working it, then I know for sure that I've got enough done where it's going to be honed properly. I've already set the bevel, so I don't need to worry about resetting it on the 1000. All I'm doing is refining it. And I'm feeling nice pressure in the opposite direction. I see a little bit of metal coming off in the slurry, and I'm just using water slurries today with this particular razor. Very good. So now I am gonna look at the razor underneath the loop and just verify that it is exactly what I'm looking for as far as the hone goes, that it's even all the way down from the heel to the toe on both sides, which it is. So now I'm going to take my razor, I'm gonna remove the 1000 grit stone, and I'm going to move to a 5000 grit stone. Now what I'm gonna do here with this 5000 grit Naniwa is I am going to take a 320 grit plate. I have this plate, and I'm going to run some water over it and just make sure that it is absolutely flat again. And all I'm doing is taking off any residual material that might have been left on the stone from the last time I used it. I know that these are pretty flat, you know. The more often you use your stones and you keep them flat, the better they're gonna last. And as you can see, this looks very nice. I removed a little bit of material, but not much. And now, again, this is a 5000 grit stone. So I'm going to lighten my pressure up a little, but still keep pressure on. Remember, this is just about a full wedge. And when you have a full wedge, you have all this material that's on the above, below the spine in where the grind would be, but you're not looking to remove it. You're just looking now with the 5000 to polish. So all I'm doing is running the X strokes across to polish it. Everybody has their own personal way of honing their razors. For me, I like a wedge razor because of the weight. They're heavier. They take a little less work for me to shave my beard. If you have a thicker beard with coarser hair, a wedge works very nicely to do that. And as I'm going on the 5000, I already can feel the resistance, and it's hard for me to explain without you actually doing it to feel what it's like, but it just goes from a smooth stroke with no resistance to a much harder stroke with much more resistance. And the more resistance you get, the more I consider that the edge is being polished. So being that I went from a 1000 to a 5000, I don't use a 3000, and now I'm gonna move to a Japanese natural stone because this feels really good. And as you learn and work your razors, you'll understand the feeling that I'm talking about more than just me trying to explain it. You'll feel that resistance. And as long as that resistance is running the whole length of the blade and you only need to do X strokes, you're gonna be really, really happy with the results. And that is beautiful. So I'm going to rinse off the blade. Whenever I put my blade down, I always close it just to make sure. God forbid I were to drop it in the sink or something and I would chip it. There would go a $300, $400, $500 blade, depending on what you're using. The next stone that I'm finishing it on is a Copa, and it's a Japanese natural stone. I got this at Chef Knives to Go. I think I paid $60 or $70 for it. It is a super hard stone. It's literally 20 to 25,000 grit. So I'm moving up the ladder pretty quickly. But this razor is gonna shave really nice just the way it is. So what I'm doing is I prefer a buttery instead of a sharp shave. So I'm going to butter the edge up a little bit, just with water. I'm not using any kind of stone on it to make a slurry. And I'm just going to, I like this because it is wide enough to run the whole blade from heel to toe on it. And I'm just gonna go straight out and back. And of course, I'm gonna do this until I feel that pressure, reverse pressure, so to speak. And it does not take long to get there. I'm already feeling it. I know some guys, hey, listen, you know, everybody, like I said, has their own way of doing it. For me, I just run it on the stones until I can feel that pressure. I don't go much further than that pressure. I might take it to 20 or 25 round trips or X strokes. But if it needs 50, go 50. If it needs 70, go 70. Don't forget that the most important part of this honing process is setting that bevel. So without that bevel set, none of this really matters. Now it's really nice. It's sucking down really well. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this razor, which is ready for me to shave. I absolutely can feel it's sharp. And with my thumb pad test, if I were to push my thumb to the side and put too much pressure, it would definitely split my thumb pad. So this feels nice and honed all the way down the razor. I'm going to dry the blade off. I'm going to look through the loop one more time just to verify that it looks good. And then once I've seen both sides and it looks nice and I'm satisfied for myself, then what I will do is I will remove the tape after I do 25 strops on cloth and 50 strops on leather. And for the wedge, I prefer a softer leather, so I use horse. You can use cow, but I just prefer a softer leather, being how heavy the blade is for me. So that is pretty much the situation as far as how I would hone a wedge or a near wedge for myself. And it's very simple. You don't need to go crazy. Once the bevel is set, all you're really doing is you're just touching it back up on my natural stone. So I hope that helped you guys. I will be adding another video as to me shaving with this razor so that you can see it actually shaves. Thank you and have a great day and have an even better shave.